Napoleon Bonaparte's decision to crown himself Emperor of the French in 1804 marked a major turning point after the French Revolution. Having risen from a military general to first consul, Napoleon wanted to secure his power and bring long-term stability to France after years of chaos and political unrest. One key reason he chose to become emperor was to strengthen his authority and prevent challenges to his rule, ensuring that his government would endure beyond his own lifetime. At his coronation in Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, he famously took the crown from the Pope and placed it on his own head, symbolizing that his power came from himself and the nation rather than the church. While this act reassured some people who wanted order and strong leadership, others saw it as a betrayal of the revolution's ideals of equality and democracy, since France was once again ruled by a single, powerful leader. In 1805, Napoleon shifted his attention beyond France and toward continental domination, transforming himself into the master of nearly all of Europe. No leader before him, and arguably none since, came so close to unifying the continent under a single ruler. Even Adolf Hitler, who attempted something similar a century later, did so with far more violence and far less diplomatic success. At the peak of his power, Napoleon was at peace with, or diplomatically recognized by, every major European state except Britain. Napoleon's most spectacular military successes occurred between 1805 and 1807, when he decisively defeated several of Europe's major powers. In 1805, he crushed the Austrian Habsburg armies at Ulm and Austerlitz, demonstrating his strategic brilliance. The following year, he shattered the Prussian army at the twin battles of Jena and Auerstedt. He continued his string of victories in 1807 by defeating the Russians at Friedland, securing French dominance over much of Europe during this period. In 1807, Napoleon and Tsar Alexander I of Russia signed the Treaty of Tilsit. The treaty made Russia an ally, at least temporarily, and recognized Napoleon as Emperor of the West. From 1807 to 1812, Napoleon stood as the undisputed master of continental Europe, with only Britain and the Austrian resistance of 1809 still opposing him. Napoleon built what historians call the Grand Empire, a multi-layered system of states under French control. At its core was the French Empire itself, which included all the former territories of the French Republic, as well as newly annexed regions such as Holland, much of northern and central Italy extending past Rome, and key German ports like Hamburg and Lübeck. This central zone was directly governed by France and formed the foundation of Napoleon's dominance in Europe. Napoleon's dependent states formed the second layer of his Grand Empire, consisting of territories that were officially independent but effectively controlled by him through relatives or loyal allies. These included the Swiss Republic, the Illyrian provinces along the Dalmatian coast and around Trieste, the Kingdom of Italy, the Kingdom of Naples, and the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, which represented Napoleon's recreated Polish state. Although these regions maintained the appearance of self-rule, they were closely tied to French interests and policies. The third layer of Napoleon's Grand Empire consisted of satellite states and allies, which cooperated with France and adopted many of his reforms. These included kingdoms such as Bavaria, Saxony, and Württemberg. Although they remained formally independent, they supported Napoleon politically and militarily, serving as buffers against his enemies, reliable allies in conflicts, and important sources of troops for his armies. One of Napoleon's most lasting impacts occurred in Germany, where he transformed its political structure. Before his conquests, Germany, within the Holy Roman Empire, was highly fragmented, consisting of roughly 1,300 separate states in 1789, many of them small principalities or church territories. Napoleon swept away this medieval patchwork, reorganizing the region into a much smaller number of larger, more efficient states, thereby laying the groundwork for greater unity and modernization in Germany. After defeating Austria and Prussia, Napoleon dissolved the Holy Roman Empire and replaced its fragmented system with the Confederation of the Rhine. This transformation reduced about 1,700 states to roughly 35, bringing nearly all of central and southern Germany under French influence. Although this consolidation strengthened Napoleon's control, it also encouraged the growth of German nationalism as people reacted against foreign domination. In the long run, this reorganization played a key role in paving the way for German unification in the 19th century. Across Napoleon's empire, a consistent pattern emerged. First, French armies conquered and occupied territories after defeating local forces. Next, Napoleon established local governments by installing relatives or cooperative rulers, creating a sense of legitimacy while maintaining control. Finally, he implemented reforms, especially in regions like Italy, Germany, and the Low Countries, including legal changes based on the Napoleonic Code, religious toleration, the abolition of feudal privileges, and more modern, centralized administration. Spain and the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, however, never achieved this third stage. Spain resisted fiercely through guerrilla warfare, and Warsaw existed largely as a military outpost facing Russia. Napoleon's conquests spread many key revolutionary ideals across Europe, including equality before the law, merit-based government, the abolition of feudalism, and the establishment of a more secular system of state administration. In places like Germany and Italy, these reforms helped spark national consciousness and set the stage for future unification movements. Napoleon's empire reshaped Europe more profoundly than any political upheaval since the Renaissance, and in some ways more permanently.